In today's video, we move my male and female guppies into two larger 10-gallon aquariums. Plus, 3 new animals join the Tank Tales kitchen counter kingdom. Hello and welcome to Tank Tales, a beginner's guide to aquariums, aquaponics, and fish tank fun. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you're notified each and every time I publish a new video. In last week's episode of Tank Tales, I combined my live aquatic plants and my adult fish, who were previously housed in 2 separate 10-gallon fish tanks, into a much larger 20-gallon aquarium. But once my adult fish had moved into their new home on my kitchen counter, my large male golden Wonder Killafish started biting the tails off of my 3 orange Serpae Tetra. So I moved the Tetra into one of my tiny 5-gallon aquariums where I was currently housing my male guppies. Luckily, the guppies and the Tetra got along just fine, but this small 5-gallon aquarium was far too tiny for my guppies and my Tetra. So the first order of business was moving my guppies and my Tetra into 2 separate 10-gallon fish tanks. Luckily, I already had the 2 10-gallon aquariums set up on my kitchen counter, so it was simply a matter of filling them back up with water, redecorating the tanks a little bit, and then moving my Tetra from their current 5-gallon tanks into these larger 10-gallon aquariums. I really like the fake castle that I found for free on Facebook Marketplace several months ago, so I decided to use it again to resurrect my Guppy Castle Kingdom. After placing the castle in one of my 10-gallon aquariums, I scattered a few fake plants around the tank and then filled it back up with water. For the female guppy tank, I didn't have very many fake plants or decorations left over, so I used what I had to decorate the tank as best I could, and then I filled the aquarium up with water. Once both fish tanks were full, I waited several hours for the water to cycle through the filters. Once the water had cleared and the temperature inside the 2 tanks had returned to normal, I scooped up my guppies and my Tetra, placing them in 3 separate plastic Ziploc bags, and then floated them for about 30 minutes in their respective aquariums, so as to acclimate the fish to the water temperature inside the glass tanks that would now be their new homes. Once 30 minutes had passed, I slowly opened the Ziploc bags and let my fish swim about in their new and much larger homes. The female guppies now housed in the aquarium on the left, and the male guppies, along with their Tetra tank mates, housed in the aquarium on the right. Plus, I still had my larger 20-gallon aquarium, which was now housing my single golden Wonder Killafish and 2 small panda cory catfish. A few days after my kitchen counter aquariums were set up, my friends Brian and Austa asked me if I could pet sit their cat, Mocha. I said I was happy to watch their cat for a few days while they were out of town, but my main fear with a cat in my home was that my fish might be in serious danger. I tried to keep the cat away from my fish tanks at first, but honestly that didn't last long. After only a few minutes in my home, Mocha had jumped up on my kitchen counter and was sniffing around, trying to figure out what was going on inside my 3 glass aquariums. Once the cat discovered that there were fish inside these 3 tanks, the fun was over. I broke out every can of soup I had inside my kitchen cabinets and used the heavy soup cans to weigh down the lids of my 3 fish tanks, so as to protect the fish inside from this small black and white kitten. Mocha had a good old time watching the fish inside my 3 kitchen counter aquariums, and even though she attempted to reach inside the 3 tanks during her short stay with me, she was ultimately unable to do so, thanks to my massive soup can defense. After my friends Brian and Austa came to pick Mocha up and take her back home with them, my condo felt empty, so I decided it was time for a new pet of my own. I drove to my local pet store and picked up not 1, but 2 large snails, 1 white and 1 blue. I had owned 2 blue snails previously, and they were one of my favorite Tank Tales creatures, but both snails had died several months prior, so I thought now might be a good time to try raising snails once again. Once I returned home from the pet store with my snails, I floated them in my large 20-gallon fish tank for approximately 30 minutes, before dropping them down on the floor of my large aquarium. My large male killafish had been aggressively biting the tails off my Tetra several days prior, but I figured the snails would likely go unnoticed inside the tank with my killafish, or at least that's what I hoped. I didn't want my killifish trying to kill any more of my aquatic animals. So I watched my snails closely for the first several days, and while the killifish did ignore the snails for the most part, I noticed that this large golden killer was now staring down my pandacori catfish and chasing them around the tank. While my medium-sized orange tetra were at least similar in size to the killifish, these small pandacori catfish didn't stand a chance if the much larger killifish decided he wanted to take a bite off of their tails, so I knew what I had to do. I had to remove the pandacori catfish from the large aquarium and move them elsewhere, just as I had done with my orange Serpae Tetra. So I scooped my 2 pandacori catfish out of their aquarium and moved them into the 10-gallon guppy castle kingdom with my male guppies and the 3 orange tetra. Speaking of my tetra, the little guy who had gotten his tail bitten off is still alive and swimming around the tank. His injuries have mostly repaired themselves, but his tail is still almost entirely missing. That being said, he doesn't seem to be letting his lack of a tail prevent him from making his way around his new home. He fits right in with the rest of his tank mates and appears to be getting healthier by the day. And then there's my snails. While my killifish had shown no aggression towards my 2 new blue and white snails, I decided to play it safe and move my snails into the aquarium with my female guppies, thereby leaving my large golden wonder killifish all alone inside his massive 20-gallon aquarium. In next week's episode, a large green algae overwhelms my live plant aquarium, and one of my guppies gives birth to more than 24 fry. Plus, I capture the whole birth sequence on camera. You seriously aren't gonna wanna miss this one. And now it's time for the Tank Tales question of the week. Have you ever tried to isolate a fish because it was too aggressive with its tank mates? What exactly happened and how did you resolve the issue? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Did you enjoy this video? I hope you did, and I can't wait for you to see next week's episode. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to smash that subscribe button and the bell icon now so you get notified each and every time I publish a new video. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. That really does a lot to help me out, and I appreciate your support very much. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, as I plan on adding new Tank Tales videos like this one on a regular basis. And your support will help to ensure that I can make more videos like this in the future.